Sleep paralysis. For most, the term is a medical curiosity, a brief, harmless glitch in the sleep cycle. It's when the brain wakes up before the body, leaving you conscious but locked inside a motionless frame, unable to move, unable to speak. Doctors assure us it's nothing to fear, a simple biological misfire. But what if the medical explanation doesn't tell the whole story? What if the countless reports from patients, clinicians, and even ancient historical texts point to something more? These accounts reveal disturbing patterns, shared experiences that defy coincidence and challenge our understanding of what happens in the shadows of our own bedrooms. The experiences are so consistent, so specific, that they demand a closer look. This is a documentary examination of 5 documented cases of sleep paralysis and the repeating, terrifying patterns found within them. Our first case takes us to Birmingham, in the United Kingdom. In 2011, a postgraduate student found himself trapped in a cycle of recurring sleep paralysis episodes. Over a 6-month period, his nights became a source of dread. His experience was documented as part of a university sleep study, providing a clinical lens on the unfolding horror. Each episode began with chilling precision. He would wake up suddenly, always between 3 o'clock and 3:30 in the morning. His body would be completely unresponsive, a prisoner in his own bed. But he wasn't alone. During every single episode, he saw a figure. It was tall, dark, and humanoid, standing silently in the far corner of his room. It didn't speak. It didn't move. It made no sound at all. What made this case so unsettling was the student's unshakable conviction that the figure was aware of him. It wasn't just a random shadow, it was an observer. And as the weeks went on, the dread intensified. With each new episode, the figure appeared progressively closer to his bed. The silent sentinel was closing in. The episodes only stopped completely and immediately after he moved out of that residence. Researchers were left baffled. They could find no environmental trigger, no medical anomaly that could explain the repeated, consistent, and menacing presence of the shadow observer. From a silent observer, we move to a physical assault. This next phenomenon is so old it has a name in folklore: the night hag. Descriptions of crushing chest pressure during paralysis date back to the 17th century. In 2015, a Canadian woman's modern-day clinical evaluation mirrored these ancient tales perfectly. She woke up in the night, completely unable to move. Instantly, a severe, crushing pressure descended upon her chest. Breathing became a desperate struggle, as if an immense, unseen weight was trying to suffocate her. But the terror didn't end there. As she fought for air, she heard a voice. It was whispering her name over and over, right next to her ear. Medical monitoring confirmed she was fully conscious throughout the ordeal. The entire experience lasted only about 90 seconds, but for her, it was an eternity. When it was over, investigators could find no source for the voice. No auditory stimulus was detected in the room. No neurological anomaly could explain what she heard. Clinicians documented the profound psychological trauma she suffered, a trauma that lingered long after the 90 seconds of terror had passed. It was a stark reminder that the invisible can leave the deepest scars. Halfway across the world, in Japan, sleep paralysis is known as kanashibari. The phenomenon is deeply embedded in the culture, with documented accounts stretching back for centuries. In 2017, a case from Tokyo added a new, terrifying chapter to this history. A man reported waking in the night, paralyzed, only to find a figure seated at the foot of his bed. It was a female figure, but her posture was unnatural, twisted in a way that defied anatomy. Her face was hidden, completely obscured by a curtain of long, dark hair. The man reported an even stranger, more terrifying detail. He was unable to blink. He couldn't even move his eyes. He was forced to stare as the figure slowly, deliberately began to lift her head, preparing to reveal the face hidden behind the hair. After his account was published, something remarkable happened. Dozens of other people came forward, independently of one another. They all reported seeing the exact same figure during their own Kanashibari experiences. The same contorted posture, the same long hair, the same terrifying slow turn of the head. Researchers were stunned by the uniformity of the descriptions. These people had no cultural link, no personal connection. Yet they all saw her. A shared nightmare, haunting the bedrooms of an entire nation. Not all sleep paralysis encounters are visual. Sometimes the terror is purely auditory. Our fourth case from a hotel room in Texas in 2019 proves that you don't need to see something to be terrified by it. A man woke up, trapped in his own body, unable to move a muscle. The room was dark and silent, but not for long. He heard footsteps. They were clear, distinct, and they were circling his bed. Then came the whispering. It was indistinct at first, a menacing murmur just beyond comprehension. But then, one voice cut through the noise, clear and chillingly close. It spoke a single sentence. "It knows you're awake." As if that wasn't terrifying enough, there was physical evidence. Environmental data from the room's smart thermostat recorded an unexplained, significant drop in temperature precisely during the time of the episode. Engineers checked the device later. No mechanical fault was ever found. The experience left the man with a severe and lasting fear of sleep. He began avoiding it at all costs, haunted by a voice from the darkness and the cold it left behind. Our final case is perhaps the most disturbing. It involves a recurring entity and physical evidence left on the victim's body. In a 2021 clinical case study, a woman detailed years of repeated sleep paralysis episodes. Each one featured the same entity, a tall, thin, humanoid figure. And just like the shadow observer in our first case, this entity appeared progressively closer with each visitation. The sense of an impending, dreadful conclusion was overwhelming. During the final documented event, the nightmare crossed a new boundary. The woman reported feeling physical contact on her forearm while she was paralyzed, a cold, firm touch. The moment she regained the ability to move, she looked at her arm. There, on her skin, were red, linear marks that hadn't been there before. Dermatological and neurological examinations were conducted. Doctors and scientists searched for a cause, any plausible explanation for the marks. They found nothing. There was no identifiable medical reason for their appearance. The episodes only stopped, once again, after the woman relocated. She moved away and the entity, along with its physical calling cards, disappeared. Across these 5 cases and thousands more like them, researchers have identified repeating, uncanny elements. Complete paralysis while fully conscious. An intense and overwhelming sense of a presence in the room. Highly specific visual or auditory hallucinations, the same figures, the same sounds reported by total strangers. A level of persistent, primal fear that feels completely disproportionate to the brief duration of the event. And most puzzling of all, a cultural consistency that spans continents and generations. Neurological explanations can account for the paralysis. They can even explain the fear response as a product of the amygdala firing in a vulnerable state. But science falls short when it comes to the content of these experiences. It cannot explain the repeating imagery. Why do so many different people in different cultures throughout different times in history all see the same things? When we look back, we find these experiences aren't new. Descriptions matching modern sleep paralysis reports appear in historical texts all over the world, just under different names. In Europe, it was the night hag, a malevolent spirit that sat on your chest. In Japan, it is kanashibari. In Newfoundland, it's called the old hag syndrome. And in our modern lexicon, we talk of shadow figures. The names and interpretations change, but the core experience, paralyzed, terrified, and visited, remains fundamentally, unervingly the same. The current medical position is clear. Sleep paralysis is a benign, harmless condition, a trick of the mind. Yet even clinicians who hold this view acknowledge a frustrating paradox. Their patients frequently, and with genuine conviction, report experiences that feel external, intelligent, and intentional. These are not like typical dreams, which are often chaotic and nonsensical. These experiences feel real. As of today, no definitive explanation exists for why the human brain, across all of time and geography, would conspire to reproduce such consistent and terrifying figures. Sleep paralysis exists on a threshold, a mysterious borderland between the worlds of sleep and wakefulness. Whether the experiences it generates are entirely neurological, or whether they are influenced by factors we do not yet understand, their effects on those who endure them are undeniably real and often deeply traumatic. The fear, as sufferers will tell you, does not come from the inability to move. It comes from the overwhelming, absolute certainty that you are not alone. If you experience sleep paralysis, specialists recommend focusing on what you can control. Maintain regular sleep patterns and try to reduce stress in your waking life. But across the centuries of testimony, from ancient folklore to modern clinical studies, one detail remains constant. Those who have been there, those who have been visited in the night, all insist on the same thing. The presence feels aware. And that is why sleep paralysis continues to disturb both the scientists who study it and the people who live through it. Thanks for watching. If this topic interests you, be sure to follow for more deep dives into the unexplained.